Hello and welcome back to another episode of Good to Great. This is the podcast for women wanting to take their health, mindset, and business from good to great. I'm your host, Ash. I'm an online women's health and physique coach. I help women not only create the body of their dreams, but also all of the other things that come along with it, the lifestyle, the discipline, the mindset. That is what I help women transform. And welcome to my podcast. If you're new here, hello. Let's just dive straight into it. I hate jumping on a podcast and they're like yapping or talking about their personal lives in the intro. I'm like, no, I clicked on this for a reason. I clicked on it for the title and that's what I want to hear. So with that being said, today's episode, we are talking all things identity. Now, this is such a real anchor point for me and the work I do, not only as a coach, but also myself as a person, as a business owner, as a women's coach, as someone who just really genuinely wants to get as much out of her life as she possibly can. I want to live my life to the fullest. I want to be as successful as I can be. I want to surround myself with the most genuine, loving friendships. I want to do amazing things that 12-year-old me literally would have thought sounded impossible or insane or delusional, as some people would say. That is my goal in life. And all of these goals and things that I want to achieve really fizzle down to my identity and who I am. And same thing goes, if you're listening to this and you have a goal that is beyond your current state of where you are right now, which most of us do, I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you absolutely do, then it is really, really important that you understand the role your identity plays within this. Our identity is the driver of every single decision that we make. And I actually just started reading a book. It's really, really good. Highly recommend. I'm like literally chapter 2. Highly recommend. But I have heard really good things about it. And it's called Psycho-Cybernetics. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. But it is written by a plastic surgeon. And what is so interesting is we have this self-image and this self-concept of who we are and who we believe ourselves to be, that we create this like self-concept and self-image from the way we've grown up, essentially, things people have said to us, situations we've been in, the way we've interpreted certain events, and all of these things in our upbringing then lead us to create the current self-image that we have right now. And what this plastic surgeon goes on to say in his book, and what it kind of is deep diving into, is the fact that as a plastic surgeon, he would have clients come through. Clients, is that what you call them? I don't know. Patients? Patients would come in and, 2 patients could come in for a nose job. And one patient walks in, gets the nose job, life is transformed. They walk out the door and 2 weeks later, they're a completely different human being. They're acting differently. They're speaking differently. They have all this newfound confidence. It was just this one change in their appearance that completely changed their identity and made them believe that they were suddenly capable of doing more things, able to do more things, have the confidence to do more things. And other people would come in, also get a nose job, leave, and come back 2 weeks later as well. And they would say, nothing's changed. I look the same. I don't see any differences. And it's like, obviously everyone else can see the differences. You've literally gotten a nose job. But the thing was, their concept of self and their self-image was so deeply rooted in their beliefs of who they are and how the world around them perceives them as a person, that even changing their physical appearance, it wasn't enough. They needed to change deep down their self-image. And they had, a belief that they could just change a surface level thing about them, such as, a feature on their face, and that this would be the change they needed. But for so many people, they would get these plastic surgeries to change these things, and it wasn't enough, because deep down, those identities and self-image and self-concepts were so much deeper rooted than just your basic, surface level appearance. And it's just so profound to me how insanely true this is. So if you think about it, if you want to go on a fat loss journey, for example, I always, use this as my examples in my podcast because obviously that's what I mainly teach women. And to become someone that has a healthy, fit, strong, toned physique, to get to that point, you must first adapt the identity of someone that has the healthy, strong, toned, fit physique. So to become that person, you need to start acting like that person before you see the physical changes, before you feel the physical differences, before you even necessarily believe it. You just need to adapt that identity. And so often this is going to come across as something that may be slightly delusional, that may seem really out of reach. But in order to get to that point, you have to adapt that identity beforehand. And a lot of people think and believe that in order to get to where it is they want to go, they think, I'll start doing little things now, and then once I become the healthy, fit, strong physique, toned physique person, that's when I will live a life like a healthy, strong, toned physique person. Why did I choose such a long example? No, babe, you don't start living like that type of person once you reach the goal. You are never going to be able to reach that goal unless you start acting like her now. So ask yourself, who is it I want to be, and how would she show up? How would she act in her day-to-day life? What would her habits be? What would her routines be? What would her diet look like? What would she be doing on the weekend with her friends? Would she be drinking, or would she be waking up and going on a hot girl walk and getting a nice, coffee, tracking her food, meal prepping on a Sunday, having a routine that is achievable for her to follow on a week-to-week basis? For me, right now, as an example, I am chasing that next level in my business and as a coach and as a leader. And I have really struggled with that because in the past 6 months, my business, full transparency, has doubled in revenue, clients, etc. So that's been a massive adjustment. And when I first doubled that business, I was in this really good flow of getting things done, being really quite organized, on top of things. I felt really in flow on my socials. Everything felt like it was going so well, and I was just in this good, let's call it a flow. And the last sort of 8 or so weeks, I've found myself itching to get back into that flow of the version of me that took me from where my business was to then doubling it. But what I then had the realization and have come to understand was, why do I want to go back to that version of myself? Because that version of myself was only serving me to get from where I was, X, to Y. But where I want to go next I'm already at Y. Okay, I'm not trying to get to Y again. I'm trying to get to Z. I want to get from Y to Z. So the girl that I have to be to get from Y to Z is a completely different version of myself as the one that it was to get from X to Y. And so many of us get caught up in this idea that we did something in the past and we need to go back to that version of ourselves to do it again, or to expand on those results or continue seeing the same results. And I actually posted a reel about this the other day, but with people's fat loss journeys, they will do something, live a certain way, eat a certain diet, follow a certain step count, whatever it may be, to lose 5 kilos. And they might take 2 months, say, to lose those 5 kilos. After those 2 months, they're 5 kilos down, they go to do it again. And they try to use the same techniques that got them from, say, 75 kilos to 70 kilos to then get to 65 kilos. But that next 5 kilos is going to require a completely different plan from the plan that took you from 75 to 70. It's not necessarily going to work to get you from 70 down to 65. So always looking at things with that objective lens of like, is this what I need? And how do I adapt the identity and self-concept of someone who gets me from A to B what does the person living the life of the person at B look like? So for me, what does that look like in my business? Who do I have to start acting like? How do I have to start showing up? I've had a real big turn of, okay, I want to grow this business. Eventually down the road, I want to have more coaches under me. I want to have a team. I want to have an assistant. So what have I started doing? I've started analyzing, well, what could an assistant do? What am I wasting my time on right now that I could have someone else doing for me? Where can I implement AI to run my back-end systems and do the admin sort of tasks that I'm spending my time on, that if I was at that next level of my business where I had people underneath me, that's not a task I would be doing. So in the meantime, how can I streamline that process, pass it on to something like AI, and then put my time, energy where it is better spent elsewhere? And really stepping back and looking at things from a bigger picture is going to help you do this. So if you're currently, whatever it is that you're trying to get to, I want you to be really, really clear on what that looks like for you. So not just, I want to lose weight. How much weight do you want to lose? What size clothes do you want to be? Is it a certain amount of body fat percentage that you want to lose? Okay, cool. Get really clear on that. I'm really clear at the moment on exactly how many clients I want in my business, what I want my monthly recurring revenue to look like. And so for me, then it's just, I'm backwards engineering. Okay, what does the identity of someone that earns X amount a month do every week? What does the identity of someone that has X amount of clients, how does she show up? How many hours a week is she putting into her clients? Is she checking in on them, making sure they're on track, following the girls up that maybe are falling off track and not being as compliant? How does a coach at that level show up? And how can I start showing up as that coach right now, today? Not once I get there, because I'm never going to get there if I don't start showing up as her right now. And whatever it is that you want, getting really, really clear on that, getting specific, getting numbers, and then ask yourself, how do I need to show up to be that version of myself? And start showing up, start doing those habits that version of you does. Start ticking the boxes and embodying the future version of yourself that you so badly want. You need to act and become her now in order to actually see that come to life and come to fruition in real time. Because if we don't start acting in that future identity and change our self-image and our self-concept, we're not going to be able to get there. And I think a really powerful thing to do in this as well is also understanding that you are not your thoughts, you are the observer of your thoughts. So start observing your thoughts every single day, every single minute, every second. Notice when that devil in the back of your mind is talking negatively to you when you see your reflection in the mirror. Notice when you're meal prepping and you want to sneak some extra food in as you're chopping it up and eating it. Notice when you are having the internal battle with yourself where you've got the little devil on your shoulder saying, it's okay, just have an extra chocolate tonight. No one's going to know. You know, babe, you know. And the version of yourself that has that strong toned, healthy physique, does she speak to herself like that? Does she let the devil on her shoulder win and have the extra piece of chocolate? Or does she stop, observe the thought, and then decide that's not what the future version of me does, therefore that is not what the current version of me does? That is where you can truly, truly tap into that next level version of yourself and up level your identity to therefore reach that level or that version of yourself so much quicker. And it's truly the only way that you are going to get there is by adapting the habits and rituals and routines of the future version of yourself. I think I'm honestly going to leave it at that. I can just say the same things in 100 different ways, but at the end of the day, it's the same story. You need to start acting like the future version of yourself if you ever want to get there. You cannot get there without embodying her first. So sit down, get clear, write out, what does she do? What do I need to change? What do I need to stop doing? That's a massive one. I talk about that all the time. and start taking some action. Start taking steps today. Maybe this week you add one thing into your routine. Don't overwhelm yourself. I'm really big on that. Add one thing into your routine this week that future version of you does. Maybe it's making sure she drinks enough water. It could literally be as simple as that. Don't overcomplicate it and set these crazy goals for yourself that then overwhelm you and, leave you spiraling and you're back to square one by next Sunday. For example, for me, one thing that was really massive was being, consistent with my podcast. And so right now it is 4:10 p.m. on Sunday afternoon. I'm running a live call with my clients at 5 p.m. and tomorrow's Monday. And I upload a podcast episode every second Monday, and I didn't have a podcast episode filmed. I was meant to do it during the week last week, but I have been insanely sick. I think I still sound a little bit nasally, so sorry if that's annoying anyone, my voice. But I am tenfold better than I was even 48 hours ago. 72 hours ago, I was a mess. There was no way I was filming a podcast episode because my voice was cooked. And so I'm embodying that future version of myself, because would she let herself rest and be like, no, it's fine, you were sick, it's a Sunday, you don't have to record an episode, you're already running a live call tonight with your clients? Or would that top dog version of me, big dog CEO Ash, would she sit her ass down and film the podcast episode and make sure it's live by Monday morning? I know exactly what she would do. And that's exactly why I'm sitting here right now, because I am living and embodying that future version of myself. And God, I can't wait to get there. I cannot wait to get there. And when you show up in that energy, I just can't even explain how much more alive you feel and aligned with your goals. It feels so good to actually show up and follow through on your word and become that girl. You actually enjoy the process versus having this, restraint, feeling like I'm never going to get there and poor me, pity party. Anyway, now I'm yapping on, so I'm going to shut up. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you leave a review. If you leave a review or just rate this show, you have no idea how much it means to me. I'm a little baby podcaster, but I love this thing so, so much and I want to grow it. So if you have literally 10 seconds, please go leave me a 5-star review. I will love you forever. I'll catch you girls in my next episode, and goodbye for now.